The blue-green planet of Nidaria spun peacefully in space. For thousands of years, the Nidari people had lived in harmony. They built beautiful cities with tall crystal towers that caught the light of their twin suns. They were a gentle race who loved art, music, and learning. Elder Kalia stood at the great window of the council chamber. Her silver skin shimmered in the evening light as she looked up at the stars. Something was wrong. The observatory had reported strange readings. Unknown ships were approaching their world. "They have responded to our greeting," said Council Member Jens, his voice shaking. "They call themselves the Vex. They demand we prepare for their arrival. They speak of harvest." The room fell silent. The Nidari had no weapons, no warships, no armies. They had never needed them. "How many ships?" asked Kalia. "Over 50 large vessels, thousands of smaller craft," replied Jens. "They will be here in 10 days. Kalia closed her eyes. The Nidari were doomed unless someone helped them. "Send the call," she ordered. "Send it on all frequencies, in all languages we know. Someone must hear us." The distress signal spread across the galaxy like ripples in a pond. It reached the ears of many advanced civilizations. The message was simple. "We are peaceful. We face destruction. Please help us." One by one, the great powers of the galaxy received the message. One by one, they turned away. "The Vex are too powerful," said the Arcadian High Council. "We cannot risk their anger." "The Nidari offer nothing of value," declared the Boros Trade Federation. "This is not our concern. Their world is too far from our borders," decided the Zentari Defense Command. "We will not extend ourselves for strangers." The message traveled on, growing weaker, reaching the edges of explored space. On the bridge of the Earth diplomatic vessel Horizon, Captain Elizabeth Foster listened to the fading call. The Horizon was a mid-sized ship with a crew of 150. Its hull was scratched and dented from years of service. Humans were newcomers to deep space travel. Their ships were not the fastest or the most advanced, but they were sturdy and reliable, just like the people who built them. "Can we verify this signal?" Foster asked. She was tall with short brown hair and eyes that missed nothing. "Yes, Captain," said Communications Officer Alan Wright. He was younger than most of the crew, with freckles across his nose. "It's genuine. The Nidari are facing invasion by a force called the Vex. From what I can tell, no one is responding to their call." Foster tapped her fingers on the arm of her command chair. The Horizon was supposed to be mapping this sector, not getting involved in conflicts. Earth Command would not be happy if she changed their mission. "How far to the Nidari system?" she asked. 4 days at maximum speed," replied Navigator June Lawson from her station. Her dark hands moved quickly over the controls as she calculated the route. Foster stood up. "Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we're responding to a distress call. Plot a course for the Nidari system. Maximum speed." "Captain," said Security Chief William Barnes, "we don't know what we're flying into. This could be a trap." Foster looked at her crew. They were watching her, waiting for her decision. "Would you want someone to come if it was Earth calling for help?" she asked quietly. No one answered. They didn't need to. "Prepare the ship," Foster ordered. "We may be all that stands between these people and extinction." Unknown to the humans, they were not the only ones who had heard the Nidari cry. In the shadow of a dead moon, 7 mismatched ships changed course. Their hulls were a patchwork of materials. Their crews were not welcome in civilized space. They called themselves the Broken Ones. They were outcasts, refugees, and rebels with mechanical parts replacing what they had lost. They had been modified against their will, then rejected by their own people for being different. "We know what it means to face destruction alone," said their leader, Krasfor. Half his face was metal, and his voice had an electronic echo. "Set course for Nidaria. We answer the call." The EDV Horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Nidari system. The blue-green world of Nidaria hung in space before them, surrounded by 3 small moons, It was beautiful. It was also under siege. 5 Vex ships in orbit, reported Security Chief Barnes. They appear to be scout vessels. Much bigger ships are coming in behind them. Captain Foster stood from her command chair. Any sign they've spotted us? Not yet, said Lieutenant Olivia Pearson from the sensor station. Their attention is focused on the planet. Foster nodded. Open a channel to the surface. Let's see if anyone is still able to respond. For several tense minutes, there was no answer. Then the communication screen flickered to life. An Adari appeared, her silvery skin dull with fear. I am Elder Kalia of the Nadari Council, she said. Who are you? Captain Elizabeth Foster of the Earth Diplomatic Vessel Horizon. Foster replied. We received your distress call. Tears formed in the Nadari's large eyes. You came. We had lost hope when no one answered. We're here now, Foster said firmly. We need to meet and discuss how we can help. The Vex control our orbit, said Kalia. They haven't landed yet, but they shoot down anything that tries to leave. Chief Engineer Greg Martinez spoke up from his station. Captain, we could use our shuttle. Their sensors aren't as advanced as some we've seen. If we keep the horizon between the shuttle and the Vex ships, we might slip through. Foster considered this. It was risky, but they needed information. Prepare a shuttle, she ordered. I'll lead the landing party. 2 hours later, Foster stepped onto Nadari soil with Communications Officer Wright, Science Officer Natalie Rodriguez, and 2 security team members. The Nadari city sparkled around them, its crystal towers catching the light of the setting suns. Elder Kalia met them, flanked by other council members. Up close, the Nadari were even more striking. They stood slightly taller than humans, with 4-fingered hands and large, expressive eyes. Welcome to our world, said Kalia, though I fear you arrive at its end. Kalia led them to the council chamber, a beautiful room with walls that seemed to be made of flowing water. The Vex arrived 3 days ago, she explained. They demand we prepare for processing. We have learned from their transmissions that they harvest other species for biological material and slave labor. Officer Wright studied his handheld translator. Their communications suggest the main fleet will arrive tomorrow. Why didn't other civilizations help you? Asked Foster. Surely someone closer heard your call. They heard, said Council Member Jens bitterly. They chose not to risk themselves. The Vex are feared throughout this sector. Before Foster could respond, her communicator beeped. Captain, came Navigator Lawson's voice. We've detected another fleet approaching. Not Vex. 7 ships of mixed design. Foster frowned. Hostile. Unknown. They're broadcasting on Nadari frequencies. They call themselves the Broken Ones. Elder Kalia gasped. The outcasts. Even they heard our call. Who are the Broken Ones? Asked Foster. They are rejected by their own kinds, explained Kalia. Beings who were changed by technology, either by force or necessity. Most civilizations fear them because they are different. On the Horizon's bridge, the crew watched as the 7 mismatched ships approached carefully, avoiding Vex patrols. They're requesting communication, reported the officer manning Wright's station. The screen flickered, and a face appeared. It was humanoid, but half metal, with glowing red eyes and wires running into the skull. I am Krasfor, said the being, voice partly electronic. We heard the Nadari call. We come to help. This is the Earth vessel Horizon, responded Barnes cautiously. Our captain is on the planet's surface. Krasfor tilted his head. Earth? We know not this world. You are new to space. Relatively, admitted Barnes. Yet you came to help strangers, said Krasfor. Interesting. Request permission to send a shuttle to meet with your captain and the Nadari. Back on the surface, Foster listened as Barnes relayed the conversation. The Broken Ones want to help, she told the Nadari Council. Between us, we might have a chance. 2 responses to our call, said Elder Kalia, hope in her voice for the first time. Perhaps we are not doomed after all. The great hall of the Nidari Council filled with an unusual gathering. Captain Foster and her team stood on one side. The Nidari Council members sat in their curved crystal chairs. And now, walking through the tall doors, came the representatives of the Broken Ones. Krasfor led the group. He moved with a slight mechanical whir. Half his face was smooth metal, with a glowing red eye. The other half looked like he might once have belonged to a species similar to the Nidari. Behind him came 4 others, each different from the next. Security Chief Barnes, who had come down from the horizon, put his hand on his weapon. Foster gave him a warning look. "We come in peace," said Krasfor, his voice carrying an electronic echo. "We seek only to help." Elder Kalia stepped forward. "We welcome all who answered our call." Krasfor turned to study the humans. "Your kind is unknown to us. You are from far away. Earth is in what we call the Sol system," explained Foster. "We're relatively new to deep space travel." "Yet you came," said a female Broken One. She had blue skin with circuit-like patterns running across it. One arm was entirely mechanical. Most races, even those who have traveled the stars for thousands of years, ignored the call. "We couldn't ignore someone who needed help," said Foster simply. Krasfor made a sound that might have been a laugh. "The young ones teach the old ones about compassion." "Interesting. Why did you come?" asked Barnes, still suspicious. "What do you get from this?" The blue-skinned Broken One stepped forward. "I am Tele 7. Before I was changed, I was a scientist from the Ordanian Empire. When the Vex came to my world, my people surrendered me and others like me. They thought giving us to the Vex would save themselves." "Did it?" asked Science Officer Rodriguez. "No," said Tele 7 bitterly. "The Vex took us, experimented on us, then came back for more. That is their way." Krasfor nodded. "The Broken Ones are those who survived. We escaped. We remember. We answer the call," said another Broken One, "because no one answered ours." The room fell silent. "The Vex main fleet will be here soon," said Foster. "How can we fight them? Your ships are few, like ours, and the Nidari have no weapons." Krasfor turned to Elder Kalia. "Your crystals. They can channel energy." Kalia looked surprised. "Yes, that is how we power our cities." "Then we have a chance," said Krasfor. "Our ships carry weapons taken from many worlds. Your crystals could make them stronger." "The Horizon has some defensive capabilities," added Foster. "Not enough for a direct fight, but maybe enough to protect evacuation ships." "Evacuation?" asked Kalia. "You mean leave our world?" "Just the children and those who cannot fight," explained Foster gently. "If we fail, at least some of your people will survive." Navigator Lawson's voice came through Foster's communicator. "Captain, the Vex main fleet has arrived. We count 30 large ships." Everyone in the hall looked up, as if they could see through the crystal ceiling to the danger above. "We need a plan," said Foster. "Fast." "I suggest we combine our knowledge," said Tele 7. "Each of us knows something about the Vex. Together, we might find a weakness." For the next few hours, humans, Nidari, and Broken Ones worked together. They discovered that the Vex relied heavily on automated systems. Their ships were controlled by a central network. "If we could disrupt their network," suggested Officer Wright, "we might confuse their fleet." "The crystals," said Elder Kalia suddenly. "They can be tuned to create energy pulses." "A pulse that could interfere with their systems?" asked Engineer Martinez, who had joined them from the horizon. Krasfor and Tele 7 exchanged looks. "It is possible," said Tele 7, "but we would need a powerful source." "The Temple of Light," said Kalia. "It houses our largest crystal." "Then that's our target," decided Foster. "We need to protect that temple at all costs." Outside, the first sounds of Vex landing craft could be heard entering the atmosphere. "Time's up," said Barnes. "They're coming." The sky above Nidaria darkened as Vex ships entered the atmosphere. They were massive black vessels shaped like arrowheads. Smaller craft swarmed around them like insects. Captain Foster watched from the window of the council chamber. "We need to get to the Temple of Light now." "I can take you," said Elder Kelia. "It is not far." Security Chief Barnes organized the humans and several broken ones into a protection team. They moved quickly through the crystal streets of the city. Nidari civilians watched with wide, frightened eyes. "They have never seen weapons before," explained Kalia, nodding at the guns the humans carried. "Let's hope they never have to use one," replied Foster. The Temple of Light stood at the center of the city. It was a beautiful building that seemed to be made of frozen light. Inside, a crystal the size of a small car pulsed with blue energy. Engineer Martinez whistled. "The power readings are off the charts." "Can you modify it to create the pulse we need?" asked Foster. Before Martinez could answer, their communicators buzzed. "Captain," came Navigator Lawson's tense voice from the horizon. "The Vex command ship is hailing us. They're demanding to speak with whoever is in charge." Foster exchanged looks with Krasfor and Elder Kelia. "Put them through to my portable comm," ordered Foster. The screen lit up to show a Vex commander. He looked almost like a human, but his skin was pale gray and his eyes were solid black. Behind him, other Vex worked at control stations. "I am Commander Thoric of the Vex Empire," he said. His voice was cold and flat. "You are interfering with our harvest." "I'm Captain Elizabeth Foster of Earth. The Nidari are under our protection." Thoric tilted his head. "Earth? We do not know this world." "Then consider this an introduction," said Foster firmly. "It does not matter," said Thoric. "You have one small ship. We have a fleet. The Nidari are ours by right of strength." "They belong to nobody but themselves," Foster countered. "And they are not alone," added Krasfor, stepping into view. Thoric's eyes narrowed. "Broken ones. Escaped property. You will be reclaimed along with the Nidari." "We're not going anywhere," said Foster. "And neither are the Nidari." "Your courage is noted," said Thoric. "It is also pointless. You have 6 hours to leave this system. After that, we will destroy your ships and take the Nidari anyway." The communication ended. 6 hours, said Barnes. "That's not much time." "It's enough," said Engineer Martinez, who had been examining the crystal with Tele 7. "We can modify this crystal to generate an electromagnetic pulse. It won't destroy their ships, but it might disrupt their systems long enough for us to strike back." "The pulse would affect your ships too," warned Elder Kelia. "We can shield the horizon," said Martinez. "Not perfectly, but enough to keep basic systems running." "What about your cybernetic parts?" Foster asked Krasfor and the other broken ones. Tele 7 touched the circuits on her blue skin. "Some of us would suffer damage. Some might not survive." "Then we find another way," said Foster firmly. "No," said Krasfor. "This is the best chance for the Nidari. We choose this risk." Before they could discuss further, an explosion shook the building. "They're not waiting 6 hours," growled Barnes, checking his weapon. "Vex ground forces approaching from the north," reported Officer Wright, looking at his scanner. "They're heading for the temple," realized Foster. "They must know what we're planning. We need to buy time for Martinez and Tele 7 to finish the modifications," said Krasfor. Foster nodded. "Security team with me. We'll set up a defensive position at the north entrance." "I will help," said Krasfor. 2 other broken ones joined him. "Elder Kalia, get your people to safety," ordered Foster. "Some of our youth wish to fight," said Kalia. "They have no weapons, but they know the city. They can guide you." Foster looked out the window. Vex soldiers were marching through the streets. They wore black armor and carried energy weapons. "Tell them we need all the help we can get," she said. "The battle for Nidaria is about to begin." The northern entrance of the Temple of Light became a battleground. Captain Foster and Security Chief Barnes crouched behind fallen columns with their weapons ready. Beside them, Krasfor adjusted something on his mechanical arm, turning it into a weapon. Young Nidari volunteers had joined them, their silver skin glowing in the fading light. They carried no weapons but knew every corner and hiding place in the city. "First wave coming," warned Barnes, peering through a small device. "About 20 Vex soldiers. Remember, we just need to hold them off until Martinez and Tele7 finish the modifications," said Foster. Inside the temple, Engineer Martinez and the blue-skinned Broken One worked frantically on the crystal. Elder Kalia and Science Officer Rodriguez helped them. "If we connect these circuits to the crystal's energy core," said Tele7, "we can create a focused pulse." Martinez nodded. "The tricky part is making it strong enough to affect the Vex ships in orbit without frying our own systems." Outside, the first Vex soldiers appeared. They moved in perfect formation, their black armor making them look like shadows. They carried long rifles that glowed with green energy. "Fire only when you have a clear shot," ordered Foster. "Make every shot count." The humans opened fire. 2 Vex soldiers fell. The others scattered, taking cover behind buildings. Krasfor raised his arm. A beam of blue light shot out, hitting a Vex soldier who had tried to flank them. The soldier froze in place, then collapsed. "Nice weapon," commented Barnes. "Salvaged from a Vex commander," replied Krasfor. "Fitting that it should be used against them." The Vex returned fire. Green energy bolts struck the columns around them, melting the crystal material. "We won't hold for long," said Foster into her communicator. "Martinez, how much more time do you need?" 20 minutes at least," came the reply. "This is delicate work." Foster looked at the young Nidari volunteers. "We need a distraction," she said, "something to split their forces." One Nidari stepped forward. She was small with unusually bright silver skin. "We can lead some of them away through the narrow streets," she offered. "They don't know the city like we do." "Too dangerous," said Foster. "They'll shoot you on sight." "Not if we take these," said the Nidari, holding up pieces of the humans' spare equipment. "From a distance, in the shadows, they might mistake us for you." Foster hesitated, then nodded. "Be careful. Lead them away, then hide. Don't try to fight them." The Nidari volunteers took pieces of human equipment and slipped away through a side passage. Minutes later, shouts came from the east. Half the Vex force moved in that direction. "It worked," said Barnes with surprise. "Now's our chance," said Foster. "Push them back while they're divided." The humans and Broken Ones moved forward, firing at the remaining Vex soldiers. They gained ground, pushing the enemy back from the temple entrance. Inside, Martinez connected the final wire to the crystal. It pulsed with energy, changing from blue to purple. "It's ready," he told Tele7. "But we have a problem. Someone needs to stay and activate it manually. The timing has to be perfect." "I will do it," said Tele7. "My cybernetic systems can calculate the exact moment." "But the pulse could kill you," protested Rodriguez. "Some risks are worth taking," replied Tele7. Foster's voice came over the communicator. "We've cleared the entrance for now, but more Vex are coming. A lot more." Martinez returned to the entrance with the news. "The device is ready, but someone has to stay to activate it." "I've called the Horizon," said Foster. "They're going to try to break through the Vex blockade and pick us up, but they need time. And they'll need warning before the pulse," added Barnes. "So their shields are ready." A new explosion rocked the temple. Part of the ceiling collapsed. "They'd brought in heavy weapons," reported a Broken One, looking through a scanner. Foster made a quick decision. "Martinez, get back to the crystal. Coordinate with Tele7 and the Horizon. We'll hold off the Vex as long as we can." Krasfor looked at the approaching Vex forces. "They fear what we are planning. They wouldn't send so many otherwise." "Then let's give them something to really fear," said Foster, checking her weapon. "Everyone ready?" The humans and Broken Ones nodded grimly. Together, they prepared to make their stand. The battle for the Temple of Light grew more intense. Vex soldiers pushed forward from 3 directions. Captain Foster and her allies fought from whatever cover they could find. "Captain, called Navigator Lawson from the horizon. "We have a problem. The Vex have surrounded us in orbit. We can't reach you." Foster ducked as a green energy bolt flew past her head. "Find a way, Lawson. We need that pickup." "The Broken One's ships are trying to create an opening," replied Lawson. "But there are too many Vex vessels." Inside the temple, Engineer Martinez watched the crystal pulse with growing energy. Tella 7 adjusted the controls, her blue skin reflecting the purple light. "The pulse is almost ready," she said, "but its range will be limited. It won't reach the ships in orbit." Martinez thought quickly. "What if we could boost the signal?" "We would need something to carry the pulse into space," said Tella 7. Martinez tapped his communicator. "Captain, we need a way to get the pulse signal to the Vex fleet in orbit." Foster looked at Barnes. "Ideas?" Barnes pointed to the sky. "The Horizon's shuttle. If we could load the pulse generator onto it and fly it into the middle of the Vex fleet." "A suicide mission," said Foster grimly. Krasfor overheard them. "Not necessarily. If the pilot ejects at the right moment." A loud explosion cut him off. Part of the temple wall collapsed. Vex soldiers began pouring through the gap. "Fall back," shouted Foster. "Protect the crystal chamber." The defenders retreated, firing as they went. 2 human security officers fell. A Broken One with mechanical legs was hit, but kept fighting. They reached the inner chamber where the crystal glowed with power. The room had only one entrance, which made it easier to defend, but also left them with no escape route. "Horizon, we need that shuttle now," Foster ordered into her communicator. "Working on it, Captain," replied pilot Christine Morgan. "I'm taking fire, but I'm coming in." Outside the temple, the shuttle from the Horizon swooped low over the city. Vex ships chased it, firing green beams that barely missed the small craft. Morgan was the Horizon's best pilot. She twisted and turned, avoiding the Vex fire. The shuttle dipped between buildings, using them as cover. "I see the temple," Morgan reported, "but I can't land with all this fire." "Get as close as you can to the east side," instructed Foster. "We'll come to you." Foster turned to the defenders. "We need to get to the east side of the temple. Martinez, is the pulse generator portable?" Martinez and Tella 7 exchanged looks. "We can disconnect it from the main crystal," said Martinez, "but it will be less powerful." "Do it," ordered Foster. "Barnes, organize a charge to clear a path to the east side." While Martinez and Tella 7 disconnected the pulse generator, Barnes gathered the remaining fighters. They were a strange group, humans in uniform, Broken Ones with their mechanical parts, and young Nidari volunteers, all prepared to fight together. "On my mark," said Barnes. 3, 2, 1, go." They burst from the chamber, firing at the Vex who had entered the temple. Surprise gave them an advantage. The Vex fell back. Foster helped Martinez carry the pulse generator. It was heavy and awkward, about the size of a small suitcase. "East exit is clear," shouted a Nidari volunteer who had scouted ahead. They rushed through the temple, running past beautiful crystal columns and under arched ceilings. Behind them, the Vex regrouped and followed. Outside, they saw the shuttle hovering just above the ground. Its engines roared as Pilot Morgan fought to keep it steady. "Get in," she yelled through the open door. Barnes and his security team provided covering fire while the others boarded. Foster and Martinez carefully loaded the pulse generator. "Tella 7, we need you to operate this," said Foster. The blue-skinned Broken One nodded. "I understand." A massive explosion shook the ground. They looked up to see a Vex ship falling from the sky, trailing smoke. "The Broken One's ships are engaging the Vex fleet," reported Morgan. "They're buying us time." "Then let's not waste it," said Foster. "Everyone aboard. We're taking this fight to orbit." The shuttle rose through the atmosphere, shaking as it took fire from Vex ships. Inside, the survivors held on tightly. Captain Foster made her way to the front where Pilot Morgan was fighting with the controls. "Status report," Foster demanded. "Not good," said Morgan. Her face was tight with concentration. Engines are damaged. Shields at 40%. And we've got 6 Vex fighters on our tail. Foster looked out the viewport. The blackness of space spread before them, filled with the flashes of battle. The horizon was visible in the distance, surrounded by Vex ships. The smaller vessels of the Broken Ones darted between them, firing constantly. "The horizon is taking heavy damage," reported Communications Officer Wright, listening through his earpiece. "Life support is failing on 2 decks. Foster turned to Engineer Martinez and Tele 7. "How soon can the pulse be ready?" "5 minutes," said Martinez, working on the device. "But there's a problem. To hit all the Vex ships, we need to be in the middle of their fleet. And the pulse will disable our engines," added Tele 7. "Whoever delivers it will not be able to escape." A grim silence fell over the shuttle. "I'll do it," said Morgan from the pilot's seat. "I can get us into position." "No," said Foster. "We need another way." Krasfor stepped forward. "My shuttle is small and fast. I could take the device." "You'd never survive the pulse," said Foster. "Your cybernetic systems would fail." "Some sacrifices are necessary," replied Krasfor simply. Before they could argue further, a massive explosion rocked their shuttle. Warning lights flashed red. "We've lost the port engine," shouted Morgan. "We're going down." "The horizon," called Wright. "They're moving to intercept us." Through the viewport, they saw the Earth ship turning toward them, taking heavy fire as it broke formation to rescue them. "They'll be destroyed," said Barnes grimly. Foster hit her communicator. "Horizon, stay back." "That's an order." "Sorry, Captain," came Navigator Lawson's voice. "Can't hear you. Too much interference." The horizon pushed forward, placing itself between the damaged shuttle and the Vex ships. Its weapons fired continuously, creating a path. "They're opening their shuttle bay for us," said Morgan, adjusting course. "If I can just hold it together for 30 more seconds." The shuttle limped toward the horizon, trailing smoke. Vex ships swarmed around them. Green energy bolts flashed past the viewport. "We're not going to make it," said Barnes, watching the distance counter. "Yes, we will," insisted Morgan through gritted teeth. Suddenly, 3 ships of the Broken Ones appeared, forming a protective shield around the shuttle. "Go," came Krasfor's voice over the communicator. "We will cover you." The shuttle slipped into the horizon's bay just as the shields failed completely. They crashed onto the deck, skidding to a stop against the far wall. "Everyone out," ordered Foster as smoke filled the cabin. They stumbled from the shuttle, carrying the pulse generator. Medical teams rushed to help the wounded. Foster ran for the bridge, with Wright, Barnes, Martinez, and Tele 7 following. They found chaos. Half the stations were damaged. Crew members worked frantically to keep systems online. Captain on the bridge called Navigator Lawson from her post. "Status," demanded Foster. "Main engines offline. Weapons at 30%. Shields failing," reported Lawson. "We're surrounded by Vex ships." On the main screen, they could see the massive Vex command ship moving toward them. Smaller vessels circled like hungry sharks. "The pulse generator?" asked Foster. "Operational," said Martinez. "But we still need to get it to the center of their fleet. And we have no working shuttles left," added Barnes. Tele 7 looked at the readings on a nearby console. "Perhaps we don't need a shuttle. The horizon itself could deliver the pulse. But the ship would be disabled," said Lawson. "We'd be defenseless." "We already are," replied Foster quietly. The ship shuddered as another blast hit them. More warning lights appeared on the consoles. "Hull breach on Deck C," reported a crew member. "Emergency bulkheads engage." Foster looked around at her crew, at the Broken One standing among them, at the view screen showing the overwhelming Vex force. "Get me Commander Thoric," she ordered. "I want to speak to him before we make our final move." Commander Thoric's face appeared on the main screen of the horizon. He looked confident, almost amused. "Have you called to surrender, Captain Foster?" he asked. "It would be the wise choice." I call to ask why, said Foster. Why harvest peaceful races? Why cause such suffering? It is the way of the universe, replied Thorek. The strong take what they need from the weak. It has always been so. Not always, said Foster. There is another way. Cooperation, alliance, friendship. Thorek laughed. Pretty words from someone about to die. While Foster kept Thorek talking, Martins and Tele7 worked frantically on the pulse generator. They connected it to the Horizon's main power system. It's ready, whispered Martinez to Barnes. But we need to get closer to their command ship for maximum effect. Barnes nodded and quietly relayed the information to Navigator Lawson. She began to input new coordinates, slowly moving the Horizon forward. Your ship is moving, noticed Thorek suddenly, attempting one last attack. Brave but foolish. Not an attack, said Foster. A demonstration. She nodded to Tele7. The blue-skinned Broken One pressed a sequence of buttons on the pulse generator. Energy surge detected, shouted a Vex officer behind Thorek. The commander's eyes widened. Fire all weapons. Destroy them now. But it was too late. The pulse generator activated. A wave of energy burst from the Horizon in all directions. On the screen, they saw Thorek's image flicker and die. Around them, the lights on the Horizon dimmed. All systems offline, reported Lawson. Backup power only. Through the viewport, they watched as the Vex ships drifted aimlessly. Their lights flickered and died. Their weapons fell silent. It worked, said Martinez in amazement. Their systems are disabled. And so are ours, added Barnes grimly. We're sitting ducks if they recover first. Tele7 checked her readings. The Vex systems are more vulnerable than ours. We have maybe 30 minutes before they begin to recover. Not enough time to fix our engines, said Foster. Captain, called Wright suddenly. I'm picking up new ships entering the system. Everyone turned to the viewport. 3 large vessels appeared from faster-than-light travel. They were sleek and powerful, bearing the emblem of Earth. Earth Alliance Warship Defender to Horizon. Came a voice over the still-functioning emergency communicator. Looks like you could use some help. Defender, asked Foster in disbelief. You're not supposed to be in this sector. We received your distress call, Captain, replied the commander of the Defender. Pushed our engines beyond safety limits to get here. Bringing medical teams and repair crews. And plenty of firepower. The Earth ships moved quickly, surrounding the disabled Vex vessels. Their weapons were charged and ready. On the bridge of the Horizon, the crew cheered. Foster felt tears in her eyes. She turned to Tele7, who was slumped in a chair, her cybernetic systems struggling after the pulse. Thank you, said Foster. You saved us all. We saved each other, replied Tele7 weakly. Days later, the Horizon hung in orbit above Nidaria. Its systems were repaired, its crew rested. The Vex fleet had been captured, their crews detained by the Earth Alliance ships. On the surface, in the Great Hall of the Nidari Council, a ceremony was taking place. Elder Kalia stood before Captain Foster, Krasfor, and representatives from both their groups. Today, we honor those who answered when we cried for help, said Kalia. Many heard our call. Many could have come, but only humans and the Broken Ones answered. She placed crystal necklaces around their necks. The crystals glowed with inner light. From this day forward, you are eternal kin to the Nidari, declared Kalia. Our worlds are bound together by the courage shown here. After the ceremony, Foster found Krasfor looking up at the stars. What will you do now? She asked. The Nidari have offered us a home on their 3rd moon, said Krasfor, a place where we can live in peace. And we've offered the Nidari protection and alliance with Earth, said Foster. It seems we've both found new friends. Krasfor's mechanical eye focused on her. There is something I have learned from this, Captain. It is not the strongest who survive in this universe. It is those who care enough to help others. Foster nodded. Perhaps that's the real strength. Above them, the first stars of evening appeared. Somewhere out there, Other races might be crying for help, and now they knew their calls might be answered.